Thank you. So before we begin, just a little background on the president position. The president of the undergraduate student government is the most direct leader to all undergraduates at Case Western. The president represents at all times the best interests of the students and does all possible to ensure students are represented to the administration and other governing bodies at Case Western. They are responsible for guiding and directing all USG matters, including issues brought forth by undergraduate students, faculty, staff, and USG representatives. With that out of the way, we will begin with the opening statements. Sophie, you are first.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Sophie Vilamara. I'm a third-year nursing student, and I am incredibly proud to be running to be your next student body president. I have been in USG since my first year attending CRU, and for the past 2 years, I have served as your vice president of student life, a committee that oversees a broad variety of offices such as food, transportation, safety, security, and spirit, and also much more. And through these positions, I've been able to help incite tremendous tangible change on our campus. And that position has my heart, but I am here running to be your next student body president because as student body president, I will have the ability to incite more internal driven change. And I have worked a lot with administration in order to incite changes such as helping establish For a Better CRU, helping establish the HEC as a dining commons, increasing the amount of safe rights, etc. But the real issues that are prevalent on our campus culture, like sexual misconduct, lack of inclusivity, and even issues relating to spirit, all can be changed from within. And working internally to improve that culture is what I hope to do as your president. I hope to do this in 3 key tenets: advocacy, leadership, and connection. Through advocacy, I want to ensure that all of the proposals stated by For a Better CRU are carried through with throughout the next year, at least with plans to see the rest of the proposals through, as well as transition this leadership towards paid administrators. All right, and I would love to work with the Cleveland community as well as implement inclusivity trainings into all student leadership organization positions. I hope that you will consider voting for me for this position of student body president. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Ben.
Hello, everyone. I'm Benjamin George. I just want to first thank the Observer for organizing this. It's exciting that we're still doing this even remotely and not in person. A little bit about myself. I'm an electrical engineer with a business management minor. I've been in USG for 3 years. All of us have been since freshman year, and so have an we each bring something different to the table. I'm academic affairs. I have served on academic affairs since freshman year and have the distinct honor of serving as your representative on the Faculty Senate Subcommittee on Undergraduate Education, so the committee that deals with anything undergraduate. And so that was a big thing over the summer when we went online to discuss issues around course modality, online, hybrid, and whatnot, to workload issues, to teacher pedagogy, to approval of a 5-year plan, to the biggest change that's going to happen at Case for a long time, the general education requirements and understanding the implications for that from an undergraduate perspective. I have also served on a different, I was at the University of Auckland studying abroad when the pandemic hit. I was on the business school's faculty senate there. And so I've worked across 2 different universities discussing the implications of COVID and how to solve them. And so I have, as part of my background with that, I have 5 key areas which I've outlined in my letter of intent and my platform. Around university sustainability, I have a goal to get the Case to carbon neutral by 2030 with a 10 times carbon negative by our 2009 levels. Academics, which
Please conclude your thoughts.
For a Better CRU, student voice, and campus culture. Look forward to talking about all.
Thank you. Wintana, you're next.
Hi, everyone. First and foremost, thank you to the Observer and the election commissioners for setting up this debate. Special thank you to you, Nathan, for moderating this debate. Really appreciate that. Hi, everyone. My name is Wintana Eyob. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm running to be the next undergraduate student body president. I am a junior studying biology and cognitive science on the pre-med track, and I am also a first-generation Eritrean American college student. I have served as a representative for the College Arts and Sciences, as well as I am currently serving as the Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. This past year, I got the honor of serving also on the UDC Executive Board. I have worked on a variety of initiatives from advocating for equity mental health to providing insight for the new general education requirements, founding the For Better Crew Task Force alongside a multitude of individuals, leading the creation of the Standing in Solidarity proposals, combating food insecurity, and much more. As president, I'd like to focus on 6 main pillars. The first being addressing campus's social climate. The second, collaboration. The third, support the local Cleveland community. The fourth, transparency and accountability. Fifth, welcoming more voices into USG. And 6th, prepare for the unexpected. Throughout this debate, I will expand on these 6 pillars and provide an insight as the type of leader I am. As a president, I am determined to stand up for what is right and will demand justice for all. Your vote is crucial in determining the future of our university, and I would truly be honored and humbled to serve as your next undergraduate student body president. And now, as I say in my native language, which means
Please
win with
conclude
love.
your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Alex. It's you.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate it. First off, want to thank you, Nathan. Want to thank Hunter Dahlia Bids for organizing this. And I also want to thank Sophie, Ben, and Wintana. I know it's a formal format, but it's always great to just talk about these issues with each other and have a place to have a dialogue like this. But anyways, hello, my name is Alex Gould, and I'm extremely excited to be running to serve as your next USG president. I've been actively involved with USG since literally my first week on campus. For the past 2 years, I've been the vice president of public relations, leading a committee of 20 elected individuals. And prior to that, I served as a treasurer and representative. During these 3 years, I've been able to create tangible change in nearly every facet of USG, from our elections to legislation to a broad variety of initiatives in every committee. Now, to save some time, I won't go into all those, but if you're interested in more details on my past work, please feel free to visit my Linktree at linktr.ee/Alex Gould, and that'll detail all of it. For the remainder of my opening statement, I'd like to share some of what I hope to do as president next year. Specifically, I want to tackle a few key areas of change. First is community. I plan to target issues that will build our CWRU campus, such as decreasing the rate at which tuition costs rise, bringing more in-person events to campus, and ensuring the implementation of ideas within the For a Better Crew proposals. Second is collaboration. I'll emphasize working with others in all new ways, such as improving ties with other CWRU student leaders. Finally, we have transparency third. I will improve this via number 1, creating a position for a current student to serve on the board of trustees. Number 2, introducing administrator USG office hours. And number 3, implementing methods for students to formulate agendas for USG admin meetings. Now, this area of transparency is near
Please
and
conclude
dear
your
to me
thoughts.
because I am looking to fundamentally change the relationship between students and admin in order to amplify all of our voices. My candidacy is not one of initiatives that I'm personally passionate about. That's a part of it. But as to summarize it, it's one of
Please finish.
empowerment for each and every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you. So now to start the question and answer period, Alex, you can begin. One of the most important jobs of USG president is representing student voices. What do you think the student interest is as we go back to an in-person environment? What will you advocate for? Thanks.
That's a loaded question, Nathan. There's so much, right? I mean, obviously we're used to this remote virtual year, and it's going to be a jolt to go back. I think first and foremost, we all feel a bit disconnected, right? A lot of our time is sitting behind computer screens. So fingers crossed, as long as it's safe. I really want to emphasize spirit, bonding, connection with each other in, physical ways. So I'm really hoping to build and unite this crew community more through that idea of spirit. I'm also hoping to advocate for change on kind of more widespread levels. I believe that, I mentioned this in my opening statement, but I believe that something that can unite students is the ability to feel empowered and the ability to have a change and make a difference themselves. And when we're all together, I want to emphasize it even more, whether that's through forums, town halls, all that, or whether it's the initiatives I mentioned in my opening statement, such as creating a spot for a current student to serve on the board of trustees and introducing office hours. And I think through a variety of empowering students, connecting with one another more, I think that's going to be a real recipe that'll allow students to connect with one another in new ways when we're, again, fingers crossed, hopefully, back on campus all together next year.
Great, thank you. Wintana, you're next, and if anyone needs me to repeat the question, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of priorities in terms of students coming back on campus. I think first and foremost, we need to have admin be transparent and ensure that we have an equitable transition from a hybrid situation to in person. I would work with professors as well as the department chairs to ensure that professors aren't kind of just like thrown back into the learning experience, ensuring that they have the tools and the resources needed to do this transition. Second, I would also have an reorientation program for students that haven't been on campus yet. Being a first generation student, I know like one of the most important things to me was to get acclimated to campus within my first month of being here. So I know that's going to be an experience that other people will have as well, especially incoming sophomores that have never been on campus before. So that'd probably be the second thing I work on. Next is also in terms of bonding and making, you know, the crew spirit alive and vibrant again. I think we need to have some community events, inviting community leaders and having a community festival. That was a major thing that we proposed in the Standing in Solidarity proposal. And I think it'd be really cool event to have and bring in local vendors, have a carnival and just, you know, celebrate crew and the Cleveland community together. So those are the things I would work on.
Great. Ben, you are next.
Yeah, so I think there's multiple elements here to this question. I think the biggest one is we're hopefully going to return to in-person next year, but I think we have to try it with caution. As Wintana said in her thing, it's prepare for the unexpected. And I think as we look at the variant situation, especially coming out of India, we don't know what the vaccine's long-term immunity and whatnot is. So I think it's booster shots. We're going to have to secure booster shots for the campus community. I firmly agree with Wintana in the sense that we have to have a reorientation for both freshmen and sophomores, I think, honestly, because we have to think like we're all juniors, we're going to be rising seniors. We're going to be the student leaders on this campus. And I think for freshmen that haven't an experience in person and for sophomores that didn't have a full normal semester, we haven't had normal campus operations at this university for almost 2 years. And I think it's returning to that campus culture. What is case question? We're going to be really dealing with that question fundamentally. And so I think I've outlined really long-term thinking. I think I'm very forward thinking in my proposals. I'm bold. I think it's redefining what case is. We're a premier research institution. It's expanding research. It's expanding opportunities. It's going over the case master plan, building new buildings. Like the ATC was the first phase 1 of the plan. It's creating the culture. It's programming. The primary purpose of USG is to fund campus organizations. And one of our primary roadblocks right now is we don't have enough funds, right? We were requested, we had mass funding this past weekend, and we got requested 372 about $1,000, and we were only able to allocate $171,000. So programming, all these clubs, diverse clubs across campus want to do more programming, and hopefully we can do that in person next year. But we need to be able to fund them, and we need to be able to expand that because that is USG's primary responsibility. It's student voice. As Alex said, I think all of us are proponents of having a board of trustee member. I proposed, I've talked with him about talking about other student governments and updating our grant of power, working with student affairs to update it and work with the board of trustees. The climate action plan I've outlined is incumbent that we work with the board of trustees and upper management. So I think there's many things to discuss, and I think I'm very optimistic for the future, but I think it's nice. It'll be nice to see hopefully a return to normalcy next semester.
Thank you, Ben. Sophie?
Hi. So I think that we need to start laying the groundwork for a good fall semester right now, and that begins with mandating COVID-19 vaccines for every campus member that returns to campus. And with this, we will be able to have an empowered sense of normalcy. And what I mean by this, like every single member of the crew community has survived this pandemic, and we are here now stronger. 75% of crew's community next semester would not yet have experienced an entire year at crew without a pandemic. And this is prime time to reshape what our spirit looks like. So checking in with the community to see what they want to see. I loved Wintana's point about connecting with the Cleveland community. I definitely am all for that in creating programming. As you can see in my letter of intent, I wanted to do something like Pizza Olympics, but connecting to small business vendors in the Cleveland area to kind of both support them, uplift them, and also just engage with them because there's some good food out there. Additionally, one thing that I think USG can do is implement hybrid meetings. This is one key takeaway that I have from this year. Students were so much more active in like student activism period because of the accessibility of meetings. And I want to carry this through next year and implement at least 1 week per semester of all online USG meetings so that the student body is able to actively engage with our committees, engage with GA, because we have heard this year how passionate the student body is about implementing change, and I want to carry that forward. Additionally, just enhancing programming all throughout the board, working with our fellow umbrella organizations, which we definitely don't do enough of, but I think each of us has has associated with these umbrella orgs, and together the four of us would be able to create an amazing programming set for next year. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on, with a new president coming to Case Western, how do you hope USG and specifically the USG's president's relationship with the new administration? How do you intend to interact with this new president? And we can start with Wintana this time.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting that we do have a new president coming in that's going to kind of, possibly reshape what the crew community will look like in the future. I think what's also really important is giving him a rundown of what exactly has been done in the past in terms of initiative work. Some of like the long-term projects that we've been working on, especially like within UDC, is the Identity Center. Last week, we met with the provost and talking about creating the Identity Center, and they've been filling in the president about that process. But he needs to understand kind of the historical context of why we want that and why it needs to be implemented ASAP. So that's kind of the role I would have in just ensuring that he understands some of those long-term, bigger projects. As another example is the For Better Crew Task Force and how he will be interacting with that committee. It's really important that it's a university-wide initiative that is not only specifically on certain departments. So that's how I plan on interacting with him, and also just right off the bat, ensuring that we are honest and transparent with one another. I don't want to be led down a road that he knows that there's no way that we can advocate for as student leaders. I want to know exactly what is possible and what it isn't possible, and then relay that information to the student body so we can work together on the initiative.
Great. Sophie, you're up next.
All right, I think it's going to be so important to do a complete student body check-in with President Kaler to hear how he plans to execute the ongoing initiatives at Crew. This includes For a Better Crew, as well as the sustainability-related initiatives like achieving carbon neutrality. We have a huge timeline that extends until 2050, and President Kaler will need to pick up not only interim President Cowan's work, but also President Snyder's work. And these handoffs can tend to lead in a delayed timeline. And so we as the student body voice have to ensure that doesn't happen. And so if elected as president, I would ensure to have consistent meetings with President Kaler, primarily to build a relationship, also establish that transparent connection, but ensure that I'm advocating that all of these existing initiatives, carbon neutrality, For a Better Crew, complete divestment, are able to be achieved in the time span allotted and hopefully faster. And also just ensuring that he has the chance to connect with the student body and they get to know him. I think interim President Cowan did an amazing job of being an activist on campus, and just ensuring that all of his work is handed off sufficiently is going to be a huge role of president next year.
Alex, I'll give you the floor next.
Great, thank you, Nathan. So for me, there are kind of three elements to how I want to interact with incoming President Kaler. The first of which is going to be kind of the emotional side of things. And one thing that I really think about a lot is, President Snyder was maybe a bit more cold, disconnected. Then we get President Cowan, who's hands-on, loves students, interacting constantly. And which kind of personality type President Kaler is will definitely shape our interactions. Personally, I'm hoping for the latter. I think we need, at this point in time at CWRU, a humanizer, someone who can be at the top and connect with all of us as students. So with that in mind, and from what President Cowan said, it seems like President Kaler is more to that end. So with that in mind, I'm really going to emphasize, as Sophie mentioned, building a connection and just liking each other as humans to be able to work together and collaborate. And I'm also going to emphasize empathy, openness, listening, empowering CWRU voices to him. And that kind of leads into my second point of new initiatives. I mentioned this in my letter of intent. I've already mentioned it multiple times in this debate, but what we get is a fresh start with a new president. Fresh Start is super empowering to us as students. We get a reset button on what it means to interact with the university president. So yeah, we can hold office hours together if he's willing. We can send student body feedback forms and have that directly result in changes to what is discussed at our meetings. We can do all these things because we have a reset button. And then finally, the last element of working with the new president is going to be existing initiatives. With Sophie and Wintana, they've hit on beautiful.
And Nathan's back.
So yeah,
Okay, there he is.
We're good.
All right,
Yeah.
Nathan, the floor is yours.
I apologize. My Wi-Fi, I guess, is struggling. So I think Ben, was your same question?
Yeah, I do. Okay, thank you. So I think everyone's touched on some pretty good points. I think President Caller is an engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm the only engineer here that's going to be president. I think I can speak the technical lingo. If you look at my LOI, I'm very technically oriented, and that's who I am. And I think I can speak with that and connect with him on that level from a philosophical standpoint. The other thing is I've been trumpeting and saying this to USG for so long, but we need to pass a strategic vision, and so much so that my LOI is not really a traditional LOI; it's a strategic vision. And so I really want to have collaboration across all of USG and all multiple orgs, but it's also, we have 65 letters of intent that was submitted through, and I've downloaded them all and been reading through them. I want to compile all of them into a formal document that summarizes all of the work that we have the initiative tracker, which tracks our current work, but it's also incumbent upon the USG president to not only be the facilitator of responding to acute student needs, and as Wintana I lovely pointed out, is to respond to the unexpected, but it's also to build momentum, right, on initiatives and long-term thinking. And I think that is one thing with the strategic vision that we formal passage. The other thing, USG does not pass resolutions. Like the divestment bill was one of the major resolutions we passed all year. We don't pass that. And that's one of our primary responsibilities in our grant of power. I firmly believe that for big scale things like the identity center, like carbon neutrality, for big scale things, we need to pass them as resolutions. USG is the student voice, and passing resolutions is the best way. Now that resolution has to be augmented with significant advocacy work at all steps within the university bureaucratic political organization, like FISCU, faculty senate, all the different through other SPR orgs like UDC to get like the identity center. We need to have collaboration and partnership. And I think working with Keller to bring him up to speed. He starts July 1st. I'll be here over the summer and I'll be meeting with him and transitioning him to understanding what it means to be a case student and what case is, because we're going to have an inflection point in terms of what that question is. We're wrestling with that. And I think the USG president next year, whoever it may be, is going to set the tone and literally build a momentum for a long time coming after this pandemic, hopefully.
Question, Nathan. I'm not sure about the rules of the debate, but are we allowed to respond to what someone else said if we want to add something?
That is a good question. Sure, brief responses, keep them under 30 seconds.
Super quick. Yeah, I just wanted to quickly mention one thing that I'd be really interested in Sophie and Wintana's opinion on as well, but the resolution versus initiative debate, which Ben brought up there. I think it's all philosophy oriented, but my personal opinion is that resolutions might be a bit aggressive at first and may lead to fracturing of relationships. And it's good to start with initiatives and then kind of move into resolutions after to create those relationships. So I just kind of wanted to point that out and say that I don't know if resolutions right off the bat are necessarily the ideal approach in my mind. I don't know if Sophie or Wintana have anything to add there, but.
Yeah, in my opinion, I have done chiefly initiative work throughout my time in USG. And I think, especially as president, building strong relationships with the administration is so important, and having their input throughout the way as you're like building an initiative and eventually achieving it, I think is paramount to continuing that relationship and achieving more in the future. But I definitely see where you're coming from in terms of resolutions being the most active way to get stuff done consistently. But I think there is power to both sides.
Am I allowed to respond, Nathan? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. How I kind of see resolutions as well is more so like a last resort measure. Personally, like in my experience working with administration and presenting proposals, I think those are mostly the most effective way in how to get things done. And then when they don't respond to those proposals, then we get resolution. And if not the resolution, protest. And that's how we move forward. But first, we need to give them a chance to respond. We can't just immediately send a resolution to their desk. So then they'll be like, oh, you should have just directly talked to us. We probably would have said yes anyways. So that's how I feel about it.
Ben, would you like a chance to respond?
I'll just wrap up. So I mean, I agree. There is a difference between initiatives and resolutions, and I agree with almost everyone here in terms of I think their sentiments on that topic. But the thing is, with like big things, it helps to have a resolution as a formal, like being able to pass a resolution is in a formal document that says this is the student voice. And so when you go into a meeting with Keller, for example, if we pass a strategic vision, that's saying that's not just you speaking as president anymore. That's you speaking on behalf formally. I mean, you already are a USG president, but that's formally you saying, hey, this is what the student body wants. We're representatives. And I think using our capacity to augment, the problem is we don't augment with resolutions historically. Way back when, the reason why, for a historical standpoint,
Please
is
conclude
we
your
had a
thoughts.
that passed 11 resolutions, the original divestment plan, actually. and nothing happened. But now we do. It builds momentum. That's why I keep saying it. That's important.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question before your closing statements. So for this one, I just ask you all to describe your leadership and management styles. How do you hope to interact with the rest of USG? And we will begin with Alex this time.
Oh, I love this question. This is up my alley. Everyone knows this is my sort of thing, but at least everyone who's worked with me. So my leadership style, I would kind of describe, to sum it up, as empathy and listening first. When I took over the public relations committee, we had 6 people on it, and I felt this struggle. How can I inspire people? How can I get them on the committee? How can we create this community to get things done together? And what I kind of had in mind is setting clear goals, setting a clear common mission, and then ensuring that every individual had their own action step to get there. And while that being the structure, surrounding that structure with empathy, listening, openness, no judging, and truly caring for each and every person. I'm so honored and glad that now the PR committee has really become this family of now 21 individuals all these 2 years later. And if I were to be elected president, I would really carry this forward into the role and unite and motivate GA, make sure that we emphasize those common goals, those things we share, and keep on pushing and driving home those core values of empathy, openness, not judging, listening. So we as a GA are all in this together.
Thank you, Alex. Ben, you're up next.
I view the president and my leadership style like a project manager, right? Like as VP and as president, you're facilitating the work of all the 5 standing committees, right? And I'm an engineer. I'm technically driven in my thinking, analytical. And so if anyone knows, I'm very opinionated, but I'm also very principled in my thinking. And so I'm logically driven, and I think I can empathize. And I think empathy, as Alex said, is an absolute essential skill of the job. And I think being able to understand the student needs. I read many reports, and so I think understanding and being able to really establish connections with not just every member in USG, but multiple and the VPs, right? Because they're your team players. It's a team-based role, and we're an advocacy group at the end of the day. So you have to be able to advocate, and you have to be able to be on top of everything that's going on, not just within USG, but also in the student body and within administration, to be able to respond effectively to things. And I think it's important also not to be reactionary. You have to be able to be principled in your thinking and to be able to understand intimately the needs of the student body, so that your actions are, at the end of the day, reflection of what the student body as a whole wants.
Thank you, Ben. Sophie, you're up.
All right, I'll be honest, when I first joined USG 3 years ago, I felt like General Assembly was an echo chamber that simply didn't accept dissenting opinions, ended up ostracizing or judging those individuals. But throughout the years, USG has slowly grown more and more inclusive. And this year, under Hunter's leadership, that has really, really been emphasized. And I want to continue with that. I want students to feel comfortable voicing dissenting opinions, knowing that at the end of the day, their friendship with other members is not going to be tarred. And this is a culture I want to extend to crew at large. I think crew also has a really bad habit of ostracizing certain opinions, and to make it political, non-liberal opinions are ostracized. I am completely liberal, but I have seen this, I've identified this, and it is completely uninclusive of our culture. And I would like to work to emphasize leadership trainings for all student orgs in order for student leaders to kind of learn practices of inclusion, facilitating fair discussion. In my opinion, fairness and equality are my core values. Well, not even in my opinion, it is me. So my core values are equality and fairness, and I will bring that to the table as a leader in USG. Furthermore, I think my 2 years leading student life has helped me really learn how to delegate as well as guide students along their path to initiative success. And this past year, I was able to delegate student life into 3 subcommittees in addition to the original committee. And each was run beautifully by a chair who had a set protocol. And I just believe that if given the chance to help lead GA and the executive committee, I would be able to make fast decisions in order to delegate and make our business run as smoothly as possible while having a culture of empowerment. between all of us.
Okay, Wintana.
Yeah, this is a really good question. My leadership philosophy is more so I want to empower others to become leaders themselves. During my time with the For a Better Crew Task Force, Hunter and I would regularly check in with the co-chairs and ensure that they had the resources, the support they need to become leaders and as well lead their committees. And that's kind of the mentality that I had, of ensuring that I always uplifted those around me to be strong enough to have that power to become leaders. The next thing is collaboration. I have found with working with UDC exec especially that every time we would go to an administrative meeting, like I would give my updates and I would also go give UDC's updates. And at the same time, when UDC went to go meet with administrators, they would give their updates, but then they'd also add my updates. So it made our initiatives stronger and we were able to implement our initiatives a lot faster. And that's the type of mentality I would like to have. I would like to bring together SPR organizations more, especially our vice president positions, and being able to collaborate with them more. Also, we need to include our graduate students, collaborating more with Graduate Student Council. I've had the privilege and the honor of working with my counterpart in Graduate Student Council, and she has offered me advice as well as tips and ways to go about diversity and inclusion related initiatives. And I think that's something that we're missing in USG in terms of that collaboration. Lastly, is just always being a listening ear and being flexible and open-minded. Throughout my time with the USC Executive Board, Hunter has always been a listening ear for me, as well as Fatima within UDC Exec. They've always been my mentors and people I'd go to in terms of when I have questions or I need help with a specific initiative. And I want to give back to USG as well as our crew community by also providing another listening ear and providing their student insight to the president as well as the Board of Trustees. So that's my leadership style.
Thank you. So now we'll go to 1 minute closing statements, reverse order again. Wintana, you're up first.
First and foremost, thank you to everyone who came out to this debate or forum, whatever you'd like to call it. Second, thank you again to the Observer as well as the Elections Commissioner and Nathan for moderating this debate. We really, really appreciate that. This past year, it has truly been an honor to serve the student body. Throughout my time in USG, I have met some strong and powerful advocates of change. You all have truly made me proud to be a part of the crew community, especially standing alongside the rest of these candidates. You all have made me really proud to be a part of this crew community. I have been and continue to be a leader that empowers each and every student to be a leader themselves. Through the course of working on initiatives such as For a Better Crew, I've grown to see powerful and committed student body truly making a difference at this university. As a president, I want to focus on 6 main pillars. The first, addressing campus social climate, collaboration, supporting local Cleveland community, transparency and accountability, welcoming more voices into USG, and preparing for the unexpected. Throughout this debate, I share what I want to do to make. Thoughts. As president, I will also say in my native language, which means I will always have your back. I'll be honored and humbled to serve as your next undergraduate student government. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophie?
I would like to thank everyone who is out here today and getting to really know our platform. There are 4 wonderful candidates here and getting to know each one of us. I hope that extends past this debate as well, but from the bottom of my heart, this is the culmination of 3 years of work for me, and it means the world that you're here to listen to it. As your student body president, my role will be a fluid one. I will consistently communicate and check back with the student body to see what you all need, as I did as VP of Student Life. And I will continue to motivate GA to push forth the initiatives described in their letters of intent. You will see progressive change, and it will happen over the years that I help serve you. Through advocacy, leadership, and connection, I promise to be a great next student body president for you all. And I hope you continue to look into our platforms and vote, empower others to vote, empower others to learn our platform. This is not a name recognition game. This is who do you think can best serve the entire student body? And I know you all know that, but just make sure everyone else knows that as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Alex?
First off, thank you everyone for attending and listening to our platforms. Thank you to the Observer and Nathan for hosting once again, and also to Hunter Dalian Bits for organizing. I want to quickly start off my closing statement by just speaking to the colleagues I'm virtually sitting beside. Wintana, you stepped into the role of VP of D&I with so little transition time. It was so difficult for you, but you handled it with such grace and just so well. And the amount you've been able to do in a year is just inspiring. Ben, you think outside the box, you're ambitious, you're a go-getter, and I respect it. Hats off to you. And Sophie, what a 3-year journey it's been. You joining USG together, 2 years as VPs together. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait for year 4, regardless of what happens in this election. Now I want to speak on behalf of so many others, to my wonderful committee members who made my job a joy for the last 2 years as VP, to my peers I collaborated with on dozens of initiatives, and to all Cru students. I am so grateful to all of you for continually pushing me to be a more empathetic person, stronger listener, and tenacious change maker. With that in mind, please know that regardless of how this election goes, I will continue to be a vocal advocate for the changes that we all want to see. My parting words today are
Please
to remember
conclude your thoughts.
the last year posed a lot of challenges, and I think it's easy to allow that to create division or resentment or anger. However, we are all compassionate, motivated, and driven to stand up for what is right. I believe in the goodness of who we all are as Spartans, and it would be an honor for me to represent all of us to the administration next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Ben, you have the floor.
I think there's a lot to be positive and I'm very optimistic, and I think there's a lot to look forward to next year. And I think regardless, I hope that all students, whoever they're voting for, votes. I think it's important, very important. We live in a democracy. It's important that everyone, and you tell all your friends to vote. I have 3 other candidates beside me that have been part of USG for 3 years, and we're all student leaders and with different backgrounds, experiences, and expertise. I think I bring a unique platform, forward thinking, and many initiatives, but none of this would be possible without all the other USG members and other student leaders across the university. And so I really hope to partner and work collaboratively with everyone, regardless of the outcome of this. And I think we should all collaboratively work together to move forward the For Better Crew, to move towards a sustainable Case Western, and really expand what it means to be a CWRU student. I think returning to a vibrant programming and having, I miss walking around campus and seeing all the different programming and things going on, meeting new people and whatnot. And so remember that elections are tomorrow and Friday, and get all your friends to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all of our candidates. This concludes the presidential session of this forum. Next up is the VP of Academic Affairs. If you could please come on to the Zoom now. Thank you.